Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Manifestation Mindset. We are your hosts. I'm Aaron Garcia.
And I'm Veronica Mendez, and we go live on Tuesdays and Thursdays. And we are deciding on a time, and it looks like it's going to be at 2 o'clock.
We're going to do this at 2 o'clock from now on. So 2 p.m. Pacific time, you guys want to join us. Today on the show, we're going to be talking about developing a growth mindset. And it's very important to us, so we want to make sure you guys stick around. And also, if you're new to the show, make sure you subscribe to the channel because we love to have you guys join us live every single week here on the show. All right. So if you guys have any comments while we're going through today's episode, make sure to put those here. We'll get to them as best that we can. But growth mindset. So something that Veronica and I have been working on for uh, quite some time now. I can't even count the many years we've been working on ourselves, but we've been doing a lot of personal growth here in our own personal lives, in our business, and even also in our relationship in our family. Because when we talk about growth mindset, what does that mean to each person? At least from our perspective and our experience, it's growing from within, learning to create things in our outside environment that we want to achieve, but also it's creating happiness.
Yeah, and for me, my personal growth, um, I guess, journey started in 2004 when I was working on all the stuff that was on the inside, which is like all the emotional stuff, all the emotional blocks, resistance, things that were holding me back from moving forward or from accomplishing things. And that made a huge difference in my life because back then, prior to that, I was very shy. I couldn't even look at people in the eye, and I felt like I was stuck, just like I knew there was more to life than being so shy and closed in.
Hmm.
So once I started working on myself, I started doing things that were how can you say, like, more, I guess, adventurous, or things that I normally wouldn't do. And I actually started even before 2004 because I would test myself and push myself to do
Hmm.
things. But in 2004 is when I actually started working on the emotional side of it, which was getting to the root cause of everything that was stopping me, or why do I do the things that I do.
Yeah.
And that's when it started for me.
Yeah, and it's interesting because we've talked about this a lot between ourselves and even our clients. Is we actually started doing our own personal growth development around the same time.
Mm-hmm.
And I know for me in particularly, going through and learning about personal development in itself, when I understood what that concept was back in 2009.
Mm-hmm.
And I started taking seminars and learning how to grow with myself. Now I've been doing some inner work before that, but I didn't really pinpoint that as like personal growth.
Mm-hmm.
But the results that it has done for me personally is it's night and day.
Yeah.
Who I used to be, who I am today, and who I continue to grow to be
Mm-hmm.
is a very important concept because we are always growing, whether we know it or not. The next hour is going to come by, the next day is going to come by. We're ending 2020, which means we've already completed another year,
Mm-hmm.
and it goes by so fast. And what are we doing to grow? Because if we're not growing, that is the essence of our being. We are to expand, to grow, to create things in our life. And when people aren't growing, they stay stagnant, and that's when it becomes a lot of issues. That's when people go into like depressions. That's also where people they may not seem like there's more to life.
Mm-hmm.
But we always have to keep growing. That's what keeps us thriving.
Yeah, and to grow, I think 2020 has really pushed people to grow and to change and to do things differently because it seemed like people were used to doing
Hmm.
things a certain way and just doing it the same way for a long time, and it almost seems like there was a shakeup that happened, and people
Yeah.
had to adapt and pivot and do all these different things in order to make things work for them because things are different now and they're not going to be the same, and now people are adapting and coming up with ideas and solutions in order to make things work for them because you have to do it different
Yeah.
because it's not going to work the same anymore with everything going on. We're learning to change. We're learning, we're actually growing because of it. And so if you can look at things from that side, that point of view of it's a good thing that almost that we're forced to change because
Hmm.
we're growing. And if
Yeah.
you can look at it from that point of view, then it's great.
Yeah, and there's different ways that we can grow, right? We can
Mhm.
grow internally. How are we being as a person, from our attitudes, our emotions, and how we deal with other people? How are we growing in our careers and our business? Also, we can grow in our health. We can grow in our relationships. So there's so many different ways that we can grow, but each one of them is helping us to develop as a different person because we always go through challenges, experiences, and because of those we learn a lot of lessons that we can pass on to other people. And because of that, we become a little bit more mature. Hopefully,
Mhm.
most of us are becoming more mature as we get older. But those experiences sometimes they can be, very devastating to us. Is they are what's there to help us grow to see what's most important to us. And so, one of the biggest things that we teach people is how to grow from within.
Yeah.
And how do we deal with our everyday challenges? How do we deal with our own emotions? Because we may not understand that how we are on the inside is what we're creating on the outside.
Now, when we talk about growth mindset, you hear people talk about, I can't do that, and I can't do that, and there's like excuses for why they can't do something. Now, is it really that they can't do it, or they don't have the belief in themselves that they can do it? Now, it's you know, sometimes we put into consideration like our finances and things like that, but if there's something like say that has a high price tag and you
Hmm.
say, "Oh, I can't buy that because I don't have the money." But actually you can buy it if you were to say, "Okay, it costs this much. How much do I need to save up to in order to get it?"
Hmm.
And we can all get whatever we want, and just because it has a high price tag doesn't mean you can't get it.
Yeah.
And you might not be able to buy it right then and there in that moment, but there is a solution to, you can either sell something that you're no longer using, you can save up and then buy it. Maybe somebody will gift it to you. You just never know how it's going to come, but if you believe that you can have it, the universe will work its magic, and you just never know how it's going to come.
Yeah, it's a change of perspective and viewpoint on things is because when we say I can't, that's a conditioning.
Mm-hmm.
And don't get me wrong, we get caught up into some of that as well because we go into old habits. But we have to be mindful of those habits. We have to be mindful of the way we think, the words that we use. And growing up, what happens? We get conditioned. Oh, can I have this? Can I have this? No, you can't have this. No, you can't do this. Oh, do you think you can't do that because you haven't had the skills? You don't have this. You're this X, Y, Z gender, whatever that might be. And so we tend to believe what has been told us as very young, and then without if people don't challenge that, that becomes a fixed mindset.
Yeah.
Oh, I can't do that because that's what everybody has been saying.
Mm-hmm.
And because that becomes so ingrained into your subconscious mind, you may actually act out those behaviors and belief systems and show yourself proof in your outside world. Oh yeah, that's absolutely right that I can't do this. But when you get to this concept, and we practice this all the time, is I can. Now there's a difference between I can't and I don't want to, right? So we have to identify what is it that it really is. One of the things that we've been watching is we were watching some movies and also some documentaries of people climbing Mount Everest. And it's fascinating to see what people can do. And I think one of the latest ones we saw
Push
is
themselves.
and people push themselves. There's like every year there's like 200, 300 people up on that mountain, and people are
Mm-hmm.
dying every year. And some people could say like, oh, I could never do that. But there's people that have done it. There's many people that have climbed it.
I could do it, I just don't want to.
See, there's the difference right there. Is you could do it. You can train for it. You can do your best. You can fail once, try it again. Which is some of the people that have actually climbed. They
Mm-hmm.
may not have done it the first time, but they did it multiple times because they didn't give up. But to say I could do that if I wanted to. So there's always the big difference. Like you can do a certain career. You could be have a certain financial income if depending on what bracket you want to be. It's like you could do that if you choose to.
Mm-hmm.
Most people don't want to, and then they say I can't, and that becomes the excuse that we tend to use. And I say we because we're all guilty of that.
Mm-hmm.
But when we catch ourselves is do we really want to do that, because the people that really want to do it
They'll find a
find a
way to do
way.
it. Yeah. Yeah, for me, when people would tell me I can't do something, in my mind I would say, okay, I'll show you. I'll show you I can. But I wouldn't say it out loud. I would just like challenge myself and say, okay, like if it was something that I wanted to do, of course, I would push myself to do it. And then so when after I did it, it's like what are they going to say? They can't say anything.
Yeah.
But it's something that I never liked people telling me what I can or cannot do. And when they told me I can't do it, then it would push me more to even want to do it more.
Yeah.
So, but that's just me though.
Yeah, and every one of us might have something
Mm-hmm.
similar to that concept. So the first thing is like anytime we start to say I can't, and you say I and then you put the word can't at it, you are giving yourself an affirmation. You're conditioning your subconscious mind over repetition and over time to believe that you can't do something. And all you got to do is just change the words from I can't to I can. And if you want to, that's a different story. But realize that you can do anything that you put your mind to. There could be some limitations in there, but it's like, okay, well, how could I do something like this? How could I get to that point? It may not happen in the direction you might think you want to go to do it. There might be another avenue for you to achieve what it is that you're looking for. But always go with and catch yourself. I can do this, but do I want to? Because once you say I'm willing and I'm able to do that, that gives you a lot of wiggle room.
Mm-hmm.
And you realize that, oh, I can do that. I just need to figure out a way because you may not know how to do it yet.
Now here's a question. You know how they talk about the subconscious mind doesn't recognize negative like words like
Mm-hmm.
can't, don't, things like that. So if you're telling yourself I can't, is your subconscious mind really telling yourself you can?
That's a very good question. We'll have to ponder that. What do you guys think? Type that here into the comments and let us know. But it's a concept when you hear like cannot. It's like subconscious mind, from what we've learned, says doesn't recognize it not. It says I
So it means
can.
you can.
So it's like a double
but
negative.
then it's like you probably can't. Well, you can, but if you're not taking the action to do it, then there's not going to be a result.
And
So
that's a key word right there. Because the moment
the
and this is just
action.
yeah, what I'm hearing is when we say I can't do something, all interest or motivation to even start doing something, it
It just
ceases.
stops.
It
Yeah.
stops. You don't even try to make an
It's
effort
like
for that.
the willpower, right?
Yeah.
So if you're saying I can't, you're just like cutting all your willpower into not doing something.
Yeah.
But a lot of people say I can't, but I think they really mean I don't want to.
And how many people use that as an excuse to not having to do something?
Yeah.
I can't do this. I can't go because maybe they don't want to make the effort to do that.
Yeah.
But when we're talking about a growth mindset and we want to grow and we want to grow as human beings, is we develop this concept of I can. And start to say to yourself, I can do that.
Mm-hmm.
I can achieve this. I can go to that place. I can climb that mountain. You know, and if that's something that you really want to do, your first thought might go, well, I just don't know how.
Yeah.
And
And that's what
yeah.
stops a lot of people, right? It's the know-how, like
Mhm.
because like you mentioned, I don't know how, and then they just stop. Oh, I don't know how to do it, so I'm not even going to try. So, but the people with the more growth mindset will figure out a way. Oh, well, let me do some research, or let's talk to someone who has done it.
Yeah.
That can help me.
Yeah, and as we grow, we learn lessons. And then it's like we become more confident in our skills of doing that process. But if we never start, then we never learn.
Mm-hmm.
So even for us in doing these shows, when we started about, God, I've been going on 4
It's
years
over
now.
3 years.
Over
now.
3 years that we started doing live streaming. And I mean, at the beginning, it was like, and I've told the story in our previous shows, was it took me a year to even get to start doing it because I was nervous. And I'd never done the video stuff before. It was all brand new to us. Veronica was like pushing, we gotta do videos. And it was at the time, and we've been told by other people and colleagues and friends that, you know, video was the way to go. And like I hesitated and procrastinated for what, a year before we even
Something like
started doing
that.
that, until there was one point where we were just in the right position to like, hey, we need to do this. And we made a commitment and we decided, hey, we're going to do this twice a week, every week, no matter what. You know, we took a couple breaks here and there. But we did it, and the result has been phenomenal. Yes, we made mistakes. We learned a lot of lessons. And we've been growing in the way we do this. And we just left Facebook from doing a lot of our streams and came here to YouTube. And YouTube was the biggest growth factor for us. And this is where we are growing now because, again, we're learning new things and learn new technologies. We've grown, we've upgraded different technologies here, and it's just been really fun. And we learn as we go.
And one thing also when doing something is don't wait for it to be perfect. And I think that can stop a lot of people as well because it's like, oh, well, I don't have the right lighting, I don't have the right camera and things like that. And it's like if you're waiting for everything to be perfect, then it's probably not going to get done
Hmm.
because there's always room for improvement. You can always improve. You know, if you have all the equipment, then you can always improve in your dialogue, your content, whatever it is. And so just do it. Like just start. And I think the very first time we were about to go live, Aaron was really
Oh
nervous,
God.
and I'm like, let's just go hit live, and then we just did it.
You
And
know it reminds me
it's like anxiety or
when
something.
I was back in high school and I was learning snowboarding.
Hmm.
And I went with friends for the first time, and they had been snowboarding for quite some time, and they were really
Hmm.
good. So they took me up on the mountain. I borrowed some equipment, never have gone up
Hmm.
on the mountain before, and they took me to the top of the slope, and they say, "Hey, see you, bye," and they just went off and did their own thing, and I was left to figure out how to get down the mountain by myself without ever learning how to snowboard. Maybe they tell me here's how to brake, how to stop, but I remember it took me over an hour and a half to
Wow.
get down the one slope, where normally
You
it's
get
about
there
maybe 10
fast.
minutes,
Yeah.
5-10 minutes to get down the mountain. But it was like I was thrown into it.
Did you booty scooty your way down,
I booty
down the
scooted my way down.
mountain?
Oh, my booty hit that ground many times. But it's a learning lesson. Sometimes we just have to go,
Hmm.
and the growth for me is learning how not to be that perfectionist,
Mm.
because that has been one of my things I've had to work with is not, oh, it's got to be this way. Because I'll tell you this, every time I try to make it really perfect, there's more mistakes. Something goes wrong. It
Or
can be
something needs to be changed.
something needs to be changed. And what we found is like we just do it and we relax. We become more natural. It doesn't mean we don't plan and prepare things, but it helps us to just get started and to go, and we learn as we go. If I try to
Hmm.
figure it all out and then do it, it's a long process.
Yeah.
But the learning is in the experience of it all.
Yeah, and I think you know, for me, it's like I would force myself to put myself in uncomfortable situations. So I would do things, and you know, even if it was uncomfortable, I would still do it. Like a long time ago, you know, I was still shy, and this was before I started doing all the emotional stuff. Some friends said, "Hey, let's go sing karaoke." And to get up and sing karaoke in front of a lot of people, it's intimidating because you don't
Hmm.
know who all these people are.
If your voice is gonna
You don't even
crackle
know
or
if you know how
something,
to sing because you've never sang in front of a group of people. And so I'm like, all
just
right,
just
so
car karaoke.
maybe. So it was a challenge for me because it made me feel uncomfortable, but I still pushed myself to do it because it's like breaking through that fear. And
Hmm.
once you break through that fear, it's like, oh, this isn't that bad, and hey, let's go karaoke next week. And then so it's like it becomes fun once you get over that fear factor of it.
Yeah, and sometimes we just have to do that, and as we keep growing, and that is the essence of that's our being. That is our spirit. That's always for growth and for expansion, and we're always learning to try new things. And think about it is, no matter what it is you're doing in your life, there's something that's pushing you forward to do more things. If you organize your house at some point, you're going to want to change it at some point. You're going to want to reorganize a few things, get some new furniture, or update technologies, change your clothes out, get a new haircut. It's like we're always looking to change and to grow into something different. But that's how life, that's how spirit is pushing us. And when we understand that, we realize as we are learning to grow, we become better people, we become happier, and there's really no limit to what it is that we can do, but we have to put our minds and believe that we can do that.
And in order to grow, like the way we grow is by making mistakes. Because if we didn't make mistakes and everything, you knew how to do everything, you're not growing. When you make a mistake, the brain will create new neural pathways, And it's like, because it's something that's different that you don't know, like, okay, you messed up and then you figure out how to do it. Now your brain is creating all these other neural pathways and it's teaching you how to do something new.
Hmm.
So that's growth. So when you went from not knowing how to do something to knowing how to do something, now that's something new that you're learning to do, and that's what helps people grow.
Yeah.
So it's not doing everything perfect, because there's no growth in that. It's in the mistakes that people grow.
And this is where the challenge comes in, especially when we work with our private clients and we really start to identify what's stopping them, where they're stuck, what's going on within them that's preventing them from achieving what they want. A lot of commonalities that we see in a lot of people is they fear making mistakes. There's an underlying fear of failure. They may not know it consciously, but it's there, and we have to dig that out for them. And they realize, yeah, I think there's a fear. If I make a mistake, what does that mean to each individual person? And it's different.
Mm-hmm.
And if it's really strong, then it's like the way our energy gets put out is we create self-sabotage.
Yeah.
And it prevents us from taking that next step forward, because it's more painful to move forward than it is to stay stuck where we're at. And so it's like when you weigh the two out subconsciously, that I'm just going to stay where I'm at because this is really scary for me.
Mm-hmm.
And when we identify that it's a belief system and an experience that they may have had in their life in the past that is still running their program. And we have to help clear that out so they realize that, wow, I can take the next step forward so they can grow. But a lot of times when we're not growing, it's because we're stopping ourselves. And where do we stop ourselves? And we get stuck. And this happens to even the best of us. We get stuck at a certain point, and we have to realize, even if you are growing and you're moving forward, you're going to hit a plateau or get stuck at some point. You're going to hit another resistance. You're going to hit another challenge. And that's the opportunity to work on more things.
Mm-hmm. There's always room for growth, always. Like you're never gonna stop growing because we're constantly changing. So even, like when you're in your 20s, like you think you know everything in life, and you don't. And then you
I
hit
feel like I
your
learned
30s.
less when I got older.
You learn less.
Our daughter knows everything.
You forgot
I
stuff.
forgot everything.
So it's like we're always going to hit these new stages of life in which we're learning something different. So it's like you're in your 50s, and then you hit your 60s and you're in your retirement age. So what now? What do we do when we retire? Or that's if you retire, because some people don't want to retire because
Or they can't.
or they can't. Yeah.
Oh, there's another word. They can't. They can retire.
They can, but
But they may not have looked at other aspects, like they're unable. I'll use that. I'll change the wording. So they might be unable at that moment to, and if they choose to, they say, oh, well, they could retire, but they might need a different plan in order to do that.
Yeah.
And so, but again, we talked about earlier about that can't. Think about what that felt like just by saying that. It was like you feel stopped. Like there's no other option.
Yeah.
That's it. That's done. Put it away.
Yeah, nothing is set in stone though. So
Yeah.
anything can change. You don't have to settle for anything. And even if you're older, it doesn't mean you can't learn how to do something. Because people think, oh, I'm 60 and I'm too old to learn. No, you're not. You can learn at any age. Like there's no restrictions on learning.
Yeah, and there's actual proof on this.
Mm-hmm.
Years ago, there's a friend of ours, Anil Gupta, and I remember he put a post on about the law of attraction. And I remember reading this post. It was a good post, and somebody had made a comment that says, "I don't believe in the law of attraction." You're telling me?
I'm gonna say I don't believe in balance.
I don't believe in balance. That's an inside joke. That's for a later story. But this person says, I don't believe in the law of attraction. So you're telling me if I want to fly a plane and I'm a blind man,
Oh yeah.
that I can still do that. It was along those lines. I don't know those exact words, but it was that concept. Like, well, if I'm blind,
You can't fly a plane.
so you're saying I can fly a plane, and all I had to do was, I'm curious about that.
Okay, Google.
So I'm like, hey Google, and I just typed blind man flies plane, and there was a YouTube video of a blind man who figured out a way to fly a plane with technology, sensors, like these specialized goggles that allowed him to fly a plane. And so I just posted that video right into that comment to see, yes, it is possible. It may not happen the way we think it's going to happen, but there's a way to do that. There's deaf people that start to hear. There's blind people that start to see. Mm-hmm. New technology is always being created maybe something might seem impossible right now, but a year down the line, 2 years down the line, it's going to be possible. And so, like, anything can be possible, but a lot of people, they don't believe until someone does it.
Yeah, and I think a lot of it has to do with faith, like having faith that you can be cured from anything that's here. You know, there's some diseases that are said to be incurable, but there's proof that some of those diseases people have been cured from them. And you know, so it's interesting. So you know, don't just settle for what someone is telling you. Actually, do some research and um, you know, if you feel that you can do something, you can be healed by you know whatever is going on, anything is possible.
Yeah. And so if you're struggling, if you're stuck in any area and you're figuring, I'm not sure how to get past this, or you're saying I can't do these things, realize that hopefully with this episode, this show, that it's giving you a different perspective. That I never thought about it that way. And even if you have, and you're on the same page as we are, there's always more room for growth. Catch yourself, because even us, Veronica and I, we teach this stuff, and you know, she'll catch me sometimes when I say anything. I'll catch her. We teach our daughter these things, and that's where growth is so important, because we're always growing. We may not know things that are there until people might point that out for us, but we are always looking to create and do greater things. And if you're stuck, reach out, search, you know, realize that there is an answer out there, and if you keep looking, you'll find it. But when you say that I can't and you give up all hope, the search stops.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's where the growth, and all growth begins from within. So we work on ourselves as much as we can. How can we be better people tomorrow, the next day, the next year? How are we all going to be in 2021? What can we do differently? Who are we going to be? How can we react to other people differently?
So if you want your life to change, or if you want something within you to change or be different, then you have to make that decision that you want to change, that it can change, and have the belief that it can, have the faith that anything is possible. So even if you're not sure how, that's okay. Say, I don't know how, but I'm going to find a way.
Absolutely.
And, you know, things will start aligning for you. And, you know, you might see something that pops up on the internet, or you might be looking through some books and you see a book and it's like, wow, that's what I've been looking for. And that's how things happen. But you really have to have the faith and belief that it can happen.
And sometimes that faith and that belief will happen with experience. You
Mm-hmm.
you do it until you start to have these experiences like Veronica was just talking about, because we've had those experiences. It's like, oh wow, that's very interesting. And then you keep doing it, you keep doing it, and
Mm-hmm.
then you just grow more, and it becomes fun.
And there's a quote, I'm not sure who said it, but it's like, if you think you can, you can. If you think you can't, you can't.
Henry Ford.
Okay.
That was Henry Ford quote.
I knew you would know.
So thank you everybody for joining us today on the Manifestation Mindset. Remember, if you are new to the channel, make sure you subscribe. We'd love to get you guys to be a part of these episodes with us, and all the great things that we have coming up for you. If you want to get the reminders, make sure you click on the little bell icon, so that way when we have our live show, which we're going to do every Tuesdays and Thursdays, itinerantly now it's going to be at 2 p.m. Pacific time, until we say otherwise. Again, we're testing, we're trying new things and seeing what works well for us. But as of right now, we're going to do 2 p.m. Pacific time, and we will see you guys next time.
Have a great day.
Bye.